Welcome back. We've stepped outside the bar for some fresh air, and so far we haven't really made any real progress with Officer Parker or Trixie in there. And I'm going to take a little bit of a break from Parker and focus on Trixie for the time being, because she gave us a lead that we can follow up on, and that is a pipe that Arthur gave her. Thankfully we've got a dog who can help us with that, and we just saw Artie ride a trolley into town. So, if he's here, then maybe Einstein can find him. Of course, Einstein is busy with Emmett over there doing who knows what. And it looks like Doc made it to the flop house. So you know what, I think I'm going to be visiting quite a few people in this video and focus on that. We'll drop by and see Edna here in a little bit.
Harry, you're just in time.
Let's talk to Emmett, though. Let's catch up for a little bit. How's he been doing since we last saw him 2 months ago?
How have you been, Emmett? I know I haven't seen you in a couple of months.
I'm great, and I owe it all to you.
Really?
Yes, that argument I had with my father during our jet drill experiment gave me the incentive to finally quit that dreary court job. I've committed myself full-time to a life of science.
Well, good. That's exactly what we were hoping for.
So, thanks for watching Einstein while I've been away.
It's been a pleasure. He's proven to be a surprisingly willing test subject. It's almost as if he's been working with me for years.
More like decades.
Yeah, funny how that works.
What's the story with the little car and all this equipment?
Einstein and I are conducting a few experiments with this 1/4 scale model to work out a few hitches in my planned demonstration at the Hill Valley Expo in a couple of months.
A radio-controlled car?
No. Well, yes, but there'll be so much more than that. It will amaze the world. Aha! Got it!
Got what?
I'll show you. Ready to go, Einstein? Watch this! When this baby hits 23 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious cow flops.
Alright.
Einstein!
Oh,
Get him out of there!
not to worry. I've got a fail-safe eject mechanism around here someplace. See? Nothing to worry about.
Nothing.
Oh boy.
I'll go see if I can find something to help. Or someone.
That's not good. We gotta get Einstein off that roof so he can sniff Artie out. Let's try to talk to Emmett about that.
Don't worry, Emmett. I'm sure you'll get it right someday.
Oh, I'm not worried about that. Right now, I'm more concerned with Einstein.
Yeah.
Can't you just go into the courthouse to get Einstein?
If I still had my job as a clerk, sure, but lately a lot of evidence has gone missing, so they've installed new locks. Now the place is sealed up tighter than my dad's wallet.
Looks like we won't be able to do it that way.
What went wrong with your rocket car?
I'm not entirely sure. As soon as we get Einstein down, I'm gonna go look for it.
Why don't you go look for your car now?
And leave Einie stuck on a ledge? Never! Dogs are much more important than any silly rocket car. Especially one that doesn't work at all.
Well, I have to agree with you there. So, what's going on with you and Edna? Because it seemed like she was pretty crazy about you when we last saw you two together, and now she kind of hates you.
What's up with you and Edna? A couple months ago, I could swear she was making goo-goo eyes at you.
That was before my father had her Stay Sober Society meeting thrown out of our house.
Oh.
Now she takes every opportunity she can get to snipe at me and my work. It's very distracting.
Hopefully that won't interfere with everything we've got going on tonight.
Do you know anything about Officer Danny Parker?
My pop says he's a good cop when he's not drinking.
Good.
Of course, now I hear he drinks all the time.
Yeah, we've kind of noticed that.
You know anything about Trixie Trotter?
The songbird of the Sierras? The nightingale of the north? The floozy of the foothills? Never heard of her. Man, I've definitely never snuck into Tannen's speakeasy to listen to her.
Sure.
Well, I'll go off and see if I can get some help.
You do that. I'll stay here and see if I can think of a way to get Einie off that ledge.
Well, I doubt he'll be able to do it alone, and I also doubt, based on what he told us about Edna, that she'll want to help him get Einie off the ledge. But we've got Doc's older self up here. Maybe we can ask him about it. After all, I kind of wanted to visit with him anyway, after everything we've been through.
Hey, Doc. How's the room?
It's a little cleaner than I would have imagined for a Depression-era flophouse. How are your investigations going?
Yeah, it does look really nice. Let's tell him everything that we've been through so far.
I saw him.
Who?
My grandpa, on his streetcar for just a second. Doc, we gotta find him.
Why?
Trixie thinks she's got something that could put Kid away, but Artie's the only one who can tell her for sure. I guess he's kind of her tutor or something.
Ah, so that's the connection. When your grandfather disappeared from Hill Valley for 2 months, the bond between him and Miss Trotter was severed, eventually leading to a timeline in which Trixie lost the nerve to betray Tannen.
Yeah?
We've got to find your grandfather.
That definitely makes the most sense. It seems like Artie took our instructions a little too well when we told him to stay away.
Any sign of Artie?
Haven't spotted him yet.
Are you sure Tannen's supposed to be arrested by Officer Parker? The guy's a mess.
Mess or no mess, I'm absolutely certain that Parker's your man. In fact, it's his arrest of Tannen that will eventually lead him to becoming Hill Valley's chief of police.
That seems really unlikely.
Yeah, based on what we've seen, I find that a little hard to believe. And it's sure not easy now that we've kind of inadvertently led to him making some of those decisions, since we were responsible for the DeLorean and whatnot getting in his way that night. Or both nights.
Why didn't you tell me I'd run into your younger self tonight?
Because I don't remember being out here tonight. Clearly, your interactions with my younger self 2 months ago have slightly altered my personal timeline. I never had the nerve to perform public experiments like he's doing. No matter. Those experiments will be forgotten once I've seen Frankenstein.
Frankenstein?
Yes. Right now, my younger self is fiddling around down there with rocket propulsion systems for his demonstration at the expo.
The thing that'll kick off your scientific career.
Exactly. Now, the rockets are a horrible idea, and I'll soon realize that they'll never work. But eventually, I'll wander into that movie theater and see Frankenstein and clear my mind. I've kept the ticket stub from that movie in my wallet ever since. See?
Why?
Because it's during this movie that I'll have the inspiration for my breakthrough at the expo.
It doesn't have anything to do with reanimating the dead, does it?
Not the way you're thinking, no. But during that famous scene when Colin Clive turned the wheel that raised that shrouded figure into the tower, and that bolt of lightning struck, well, let's just say more than one brain was reanimated that night.
Interesting. We saw a poster of Frankenstein in Marty's room when he woke up from the nightmare at the beginning.
Emmett's not having much luck getting Einstein off the courthouse.
I'm not surprised. Einie's a smart dog, but heights give him the willies.
What can we do?
I've got it.
What?
Just get my younger self distracted, and I'll handle the rest.
Alright, will do.
Where'd you park the DeLorean?
I hid it in the DeSoto lot. Nobody's buying cars these days, so it should be safe in there.
Hey, who did burn down Tannen's original speakeasy anyway?
I still don't know. I'd really like to find out before we go home.
Well, we know it's not Doc, although I have my suspicions about who it might be.
I never did get a straight answer about why he came back to 1931 in the first place.
It's, personal. When this is over, I'll tell you all about it.
I'm gonna hold you to that, you know.
Interesting.
Why are Tannens always such jerks anyway?
It's hard to say. Rogue Neanderthal genes in their DNA, perhaps.
I want to say they kind of explored the concept of that in the cartoon.
Can you explain all this? I'm confused.
It's very simple. In the original timeline, Timeline A, the speakeasy arsonist was never caught, creating one of Hill Valley's enduring historical mysteries.
Okay.
When I traveled back to 1931, I created Timeline B, in which I was misidentified as the arsonist and subsequently killed by Kid Tannen's goons. Einstein came with me, and somehow he ended up in the DeLorean when its fail-safe mechanism triggered, sending it back to 1986.
Which is where I came in.
Precisely. You traveled back to June 14th, 1931, creating Timeline C, a world in which Carl Sagan wasn't rubbed out by Kid Tannen. But Arthur McFly was served with a subpoena.
And shot by Kid Tannen's goons.
Yes. So you jumped back in time 6 hours, creating Timeline D, saving your grandfather's life, but somehow preventing Kid Tannen from meeting his date with justice.
Which is why the Tannens were so powerful when we jumped back to 86.
Uh-huh. So now we've returned to August of 1931, creating Timeline E, in which, fingers crossed, we'll send Tannen to prison where he belongs. Got it?
Sure.
Good.
One question.
What?
Can you explain all this? I'm confused.
Actually, I think that was probably the best explanation that could be given of what's happened so far. And just to let you all know, for the sake of this LP, I'm not going to be referring to the various iterations of 1931 that we've been through so far, as 1931A, B, C, and so forth, like Doc did with 1985 and Back to the Future Part 2. Mainly just because there really isn't anything here that's visibly different about Hill Valley, unlike the Biff Tannen ruled Hill Valley in 1985, in which things were noticeably different. So I'm just going to keep calling 1931 1931.
Okay, I better get back to fixing history.
Be careful, Marty.
Alright, and they still got the poster for Shark, which is awesome. Alright, so we've got a task that Doc's given us. We need to distract Emmett so that Einstein can be saved. Let's talk to him one more time.
Any luck with Einstein?
I'm still thinking about it. It's a perplexing spatial conundrum, aggravated by Einie's understandable skittishness.
Well, maybe we can convince him to take a break and maybe we can just handle everything.
Why don't you take a break from Einstein Patrol for a minute? Maybe go see a movie or something.
Thanks for the offer, Mike. When once Emmett Lathrop Brown sets his mind on a task, nothing can distract him from his purpose. And right now, that purpose is rescuing your dog.
Yeah, see, right there is an example of the game picking one of the other names that you could go as, which was Michael Corleone. And if you do that, Emmett will refer to you as Mike quite a bit. It's kind of a little bit frustrating having to jumble all those names around, but I think for the most part it gets it right. It's just a few instances.
Have you seen that Frankenstein movie yet? I hear it's pretty inspirational.
Not yet. I've been so busy with my rocket car that I haven't found the time. But I'm planning on going tonight. At least I will once I get Einstein down.
Well, let's make sure that happens.
Well, I'll go off and see if I can get some help.
You do that. I'll stay here and see if I can think of a way to get Einie off that ledge.
Alright. Well, he needs a distraction. And there's one person around here who might be able to provide that distraction, which is Edna. Let's try talking to her.
Hey, Edna.
Mr. Crockett, what can I do for you?
See, now she's calling us Sonny Crockett, which, again, is really frustrating.
What are you doing out here in the middle of the night?
Saving people from alcohol, vice, and disorder. And also keeping a lookout for hot stories. You'd be surprised how much news breaks on this corner.
Also, she's got a poster there, or a flyer there for a donation to the Clock Tower Fund, which is a nice little reference.
Broken any stories tonight?
Only the usual. Mayor Thomas trying to slink out of the speakeasy. Frankie Needles crashing his car into a fire hydrant. Nothing that'll get me the front page.
Did she just say needles?
What was that song you were singing earlier?
Do you like it? I wrote it myself. It really gets the toes tapping at the Stay Sober Society meetings. Although I suppose that could be the Shakes. Would you like to hear it again?
Sure, why not?
Sure.
I knew if I waited long enough, somebody would request it. You say you've lost your self-respect, but you should care. It's not too late to redirect and start to care. Don't despise the good and pure. Time to rise up from the sewer. Wash off all that foul manure. Show the world you care. You should care. You should care what people think of you. of goals that you could name. Reclaiming your good name is what you ought to do. You should care, you should care. If your reputation is in disrepair, it's not going to hurt you to reclaim your virtue, for you should care.
Catchy.
You really think so?
Yeah, it's got a good hook to it.
One needs a good hook if one is fishing for souls.
I can think of much better ways to do that, to be honest. Let's see. Let's try talking to her about everything else here. We can talk to her about a lot of stuff.
What's going on with you and Emmett? The last time I saw you, you seemed to be kinda interested in him.
That was before I belatedly realized that his agreement to host my Stay Sober Society was a clever ruse to ferry barrels of hooch to his so-called laboratory.
Sorry about that.
Now his very presence fills me with an irrepressible urge to pick at his philosophical and intellectual foundations with every tool in my vocabulary.
So you're not dating?
Dating? The mere thought of romantic involvement with that undisciplined techno-anarchist is preposterous.
Good.
Wow.
What's Kid Tannen been up to for the last 2 months?
Didn't you hear? It was in all the papers.
I've been, traveling.
Well, the feds were all set to arrest Tannen on tax evasion charges. Seems they'd gotten Tannen's books from his accountant.
I heard something about that, yeah.
Well, the accountant disappeared, unsurprisingly, but the feds still thought they had a case. After all, they still had the books, right?
Right.
Wrong. The day before the trial, the books up and vanished right out of the court's evidence locker.
No.
Lots of fingers were pointed, but honestly, the whole town's so corrupt that it could have been anyone. Court clerks, cops, janitors.
I wouldn't say the whole town is so corrupt. More than likely, it was just a couple people who were involved.
So Kid's walking around free?
Free, clear, and laughing it up in his new speakeasy. The feds want to bring a case up against him, but without those books, they've got nothing.
Well, Arthur was the one who was keeping his books, so maybe whatever this evidence is that Trixie has got that she trusts Arthur with might have to do with accounting, since he's been tutoring her in that.
Do you know anything about Officer Danny Parker?
Parker? Just another soul lost to the twin vices of booze and despair.
Oh, come on.
I've asked him to tell me his story for my column. Sort of a cautionary tale, but he's never in the mood to talk to me.
I can't imagine why.
You wouldn't happen to know anything about Trixie Trotter, would you?
Kid Tannen's latest conquest? Well, she claims to be a lounge singer from Seattle, but my sources in Washington have never heard of her. I mean, honestly, Trixie Trotter, what kind of name is that?
I wouldn't expect that to be her real name. Also, she's got sources in Washington?
Whatever happened with that speakeasy arsonist?
I was about to ask you the same question.
Me?
Don't play coy with me. I may not have any journalistically acceptable proof, but I know you had a hand in Carl Sagan's daring escape from the authorities.
That may be true, but that was after the arson.
Didn't you think that Sagan was innocent?
I used to, but after he escaped, 2 more speakeasies were torched in Colfax and Georgetown.
That's just a coincidence.
Coincidence? Or is our friend Carl a serial arsonist?
Somehow I doubt that.
What have you got against dogs, anyway?
They're smelly, rude, completely unable to take care of themselves, and frankly, they're not very bright. If I had my druthers, dogs would be banned from public places.
Harsh.
It's a harsh world, Mr. Callahan.
There's
one other thing we can do. We can ask her for a copy of her song.
Do you think I could have a copy of your You Should Care lyrics? I've, got a club of my own that could really use some inspiring.
Sure. Let me just get a page out of the hymnal. There you are.
Hey, thanks.
Alright, that's all we can talk... Well, actually, no. We got one other thing we can talk about. The distraction. I almost forgot about that.
Hey, I got a hot lead for you.
Oh? What is it?
well, we can try to talk to her about some of these other things, but she's not really going to believe any of them. But we can talk to her about this.
Young scientist strands dog on courthouse roof.
What?
Look over there.
Oh, for goodness sake. Mr. Brown.
Please, Miss Strickland, not now. Can't you see I've got a rather delicate situation on my hands at the moment? My trial run...
Trial run? Public hazard, I call it. And I'm sure my editor will agree.
Oh my goodness.
This scientific enterprise of yours represents a clear and present danger to public safety.
You know what represents a clear and present danger to public safety? Your singing voice.
There's no need to get personal, Mr. Brown.
Believe me, I have no intention of getting personal with you.
I'm relieved to hear it. Flying cars, of all the ridiculous juvenile
You
notions.
mock me, but just imagine. A world in which traffic jams and car crashes are a thing of the past.
I might be more inclined to listen to you if your maiden voyage hadn't ended in a crash on one roof and a stranded dog on another.
I'm working on getting him down. Einie, how'd you get down?
That was quick.
Clever dog.
Well, fortune favors you tonight, but I warn you to be more careful in the future.
Now, how to get that rocket car back down?
Flying cars will be a thing of the past. In 2 more years, right everybody? 2015. I'm going to be looking for him. Also, wait a minute. Okay, Emmett's equipment still is there. Okay. Well, we've got Einstein down, we've talked to everybody, and now we can finally give him the pipe in the next video.